So, you wish. All right, so today is learning target, which is what we're going to be doing today and tomorrow. I can complete the square. Oh, that air finally feels good. Whew. To write perfect. Oh, that's your phone. Square. Oh my God. Trinomials. And she doesn't solve them. I'll plug it up here. You have your charger? Alright, so completing the square is what you do when you have a trinomial and you're missing the c. So when you're missing the last...
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I gotta have all this crap.
The last term in your trinomial, that's how you complete the square. So please open this Flappy while we're waiting on Troy. And it says complete the square for the expression x squared plus bx and add the square of the half the coefficient. Okay, so that's a whole lot of jumbo, right? So to complete the square, what you do, Troy, man.
Sorry, I have like 4 chargers. I don't know which one to use. What if I lose one? I don't want to be standing there without a phone.
Children these days. Alright, so to complete the square, this is what you do. You have x squared plus bx, right? And we're trying to figure out what c is. So remember, our goal is to get it in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. This is our goal. But if we don't know what it is or what it's equal to, we would have to complete the square. So leave a space in between bx and write an equal sign. Now, do you guys remember when we were learning how to solve equations and I said what you do to one side you have to do to the other? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing here. So you can't just magically add stuff to it. You have to do plus b divided by 2, quantity squared, equals this. So these two things are the same thing. This is the factored form. This is the completing the square form. So we're going to be doing 2 and 1, and it's magic. Now, pardon?
2 and 1, twice the line?
Yes. So b divided by 2 means you take this number right here, whatever it is, you divide it by 2, and then what do you do here?
Square it.
Square it. Take a point. All right, so now let's complete the square with example 1. Is everybody ready?
I'm sorry, that was so bad loud.
You sound like a creep. All right, so the directions say find the value of c that makes each expression below a perfect square trinomial. So that's what we're trying to do. It says then write the expression as the square of the binomials. So this is where we're trying to find the perfect square to find c, and this is what it means for the second part. Does everybody understand? Okay, so we're trying to find c, which means we have x squared plus 12x plus, and what does our formula tell us to do?
You gotta put it in that whatever's in b divided by 2.
Okay. All right, good. I'm going to use a different color now so we can see the difference. 12 divided by 2 and then I square it. And what am I going to set that equal to over here, y'all? Okay, awesome. Hold on. Yep. So x plus 12 divided by 2 squared. Now remember, we're trying to make it a perfect square, so we have to be able to divide by 2 and square it. That's our whole goal here. Is everybody ready? Okay. What is 12 divided by 2?
6.
And what is 6 squared? 36. So what does C equal?
Oh.
And then what is this going to be on this side? Nope. What's 12 divided by 2?
6.
So we just write x plus 6 quantity squared.
We're done.
And we're done.
So then why do we have to put all the extra work on?
So that we can see what happened. Now, Austin, would we have to write this every time though, since we are just trying to find C here?
No.
So over here, and I really just wanted to see if anyone would notice, could I just write that C equals B divided by 2 quantity squared? And then plug it in? And then for my square of the binomials, I could do x plus B divided by 2 quantity squared, right? And then we just plug it in. Right, but easier is not always the best way, guys. Just to let you know.
It's the faster way.
Ham sandwich, children. Alright, so what is B here? What is B in this problem?
-6.
-6. And is it important that we watch our signs?
Yes.
Yes. Alright, and what's -6 divided by 2?
-3.
And what's -3 squared? +9. And then what would I write over here?
The same thing. X equals 3. -3. X minus 3. No, it's positive. I don't know.
What's -6 divided by 2?
It would be x. It would be x.
So x minus 3 quantity squared. Okay, now before we move on, I want to practice this. Okay? Is everybody ready? So flip it to the back. Let's go to 40B, and we're going to, bless you. We're going to call it example 1C. We're going to do 2, just to make sure we understand what's happening, okay? All right, x plus, x squared, Blair, duh. Remember, we're doing 2, so I want you to try both of these without me. I want you to write it both ways, just like we did on the previous flap. And then I'll reveal my answers, and we'll compare, and we'll hopefully get it right. This is what I got.
I got that too.
How many of us got it right? If 2 people at your table got it right, take a point. If you need to correct your work, correct your work. I want to do dos más.
2 more.
2 more.
Cinco más?
Right, 5. Okay, let me think about that one.
What do you notice about these two? What's the B on these two?
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Jackson, please save us.
They're odd numbers.
They're odd numbers, which means we're going to get a...
No solution.
We're going to get a decimal. Take 2 points, Jackson, for saving the class. Right, guys, but you didn't know it was an odd number. I got 4.5, and I need to swap those.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Look at me go. So you should have 20.25 here, and then 4.5 here, right? I just got it backwards. Did you at least do both of them? I'm so proud of you. Take a point. You haven't earned a point in a hot minute. All right, so now what we're going to do for the final thing before we leave today is we are going to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square. It's super easy. Now, what your goal is on completing the square is to create a perfect square trinomial, okay? And we know how to solve quadratics, right? We're trying to find, no? ¿Por qué no? No. Alright, so now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to complete the square so that we can solve it, because we can factor perfect squares easier. That's what we were practicing up here, is getting the factored form. So that's what we're trying to do, is get the factored form so that we can set it equal to each other and solve. Now, what you want to do is you want to get x squared and 14x by itself, or x squared and 14x by itself. Yes, magic. So we're going to complete the square. We have x squared minus 14x plus, what do I do to complete the square?
Equals C, plus C.
But I have to find c, right? And how do I find c?
You do the B thing.
B divided by quantity.
Square.
Good. Take a point. Alright, so we have negative 14 divided by 2, quantity squared. And if I do this to this side, shouldn't I do it to the other side as well? Awesome. Do the same thing. Alright, what is negative 14 divided by 2? And what is negative 7 squared? Negative or positive? Positive, because you're squaring it. Now, we know from up here that if we complete the square, that's the same thing as setting, if we had x squared plus 12x plus 36, that would be the same thing as x plus 6 quantity squared, right? So if this is x squared minus 14x plus 49, that would be the same thing as x minus 7, ooh, Blair, quantity squared. And what are we going to set that equal to? Which is?
Oh, yeah.
15 plus 49 is not 15. I don't know why you keep saying that at me.
15 plus 49.
Thank you.
Is that it?
No, we gotta solve it.
Would you end up squaring 7?
How do we get rid of a squared?
You square it.
You root it.
Square root it. Take a point. What's the square root of 64? Just use your card. Use your card. It's 8. And it's positive or negative 8. Because remember, you can square... Troy, listen, son.
Sorry.
It's going to be plus or minus 8. Now, the reason it's plus or minus 8 is because 8 times 8 is 64. And negative 8 times negative 8 is... Positive 64. Are we done? Have we solved it?
No, we haven't.
We haven't. I know it seems like a lot, but it's not, guys. You're just anxious and ready to be done with this day. So you say x minus 7 equals 8. X minus 7 equals negative 8. Because remember, most quadratics have 2 solutions when they cross the x-axis. And then you solve.
So is that a plus 8 or minus 8?
Both.
Or would you add 7? Both.
You would add 7. And what is 8 plus 7? 15.
Yeah,
Or Jesus, guys. We need to be able to add. And if you can't add, use your
I
calculator.
can add.
Why? Yeah, oh.
I'm all good.
So confused.
And what's negative 8 plus 7?
Negative 8.
Negative 15.
Negative 15.
Positive 15, my bad. Positive 15.
I am Scar, and you guys are the hyenas. Negative 8 plus 7. If you owe me $8 and you pay me back 7, how much do you still owe
Negative $1.
me?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Can you put down my binder clip?
I mean, I kind of enjoy this.
Was that around my point strips?
No, it's right here.
Can you check and see if it was around the point strips? Can we put all the point strips back in the binder clip?
All of it? Bro, be quiet.
Okay, now, without Troy speaking, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through step by step again what we did, how we got to this point, and then we're going to do this one together just to be safe. Does everybody understand? Now, we wanted x squared and 14x by itself so that we can complete the square, because 15 is not a perfect square. It is not 14 squared. We don't care about it. We're trying to get a perfect square. Then we completed the square. We did b divided by 2 quantity squared, which is negative 14 divided by 2 quantity squared. And we did the same thing to both sides. Is everybody with me? Are we sure? Okay. Where did the 49 come from?
14. Negative 14.
Yep. So negative 14 divided by 2 gives us negative 7. Negative 7 squared gives us 49. Then we know that this is the same thing as x minus 7 quantity squared, because that's what we practiced before. So all we did was factor. How did we get rid of the squared? Square root it, and that got rid of our squared, and it gave us 2 answers. We need 2 solutions. So we said positive 8 and negative 8, and then we set it equal. Now, let's look at example 2b together. Are x squared and negative 5x alone? And didn't we want them to be alone so that we can find the perfect square? So we have x squared minus 5x because I didn't what yet? I don't have C. And I wanted to use a different color for C. Alright, so I need to do b divided by 2 quantity squared. What is my b? Do I have to do it on the other side as well? Now, without screaming the answer out, I want you guys in your calculator to do negative 5 divided by 2 and then square it. Without screaming the answer out. No, what did I just say? No, just wait. Troy. He got a headache from you. All right, Bronson, tell me what you got. Did everybody get 6.25? So we have x squared minus 5x plus 6.25 equals negative 1 plus 6.25. Where do I go to for this point? From this point. So from here to here, from this point to this point, we just factored, right?
Yeah.
We just went back to our base form. So we're going to do the same thing again. X minus, because it's negative 5 divided by 2. What's negative 5 divided by 2? Equals, what's negative 1 plus 6.25? Matt, calculators, we're not guessing. 5.25, take a point. What do I do from here? Square root. I get rid of the squared, so I take the square root. And what's the square root? Nobody scream it out. I want you to take the square root of 5.25 in your calculator. I want you to tell me it.
It is 27. It's like when you said square, right?
Square root.
You said square root of 5.25.
2.7.
Yeah. Whoa.
The whole guess. I just guessed in my head.
Square root it.
Oh, I don't think
I got 2 point. We're gonna round to the 100th because it says to round to the 100th in the directions. 2.29. Now remember, do I have to have my plus or minus right there?
Yes.
Yes. Am I done? No. What do I need to do now?
Solve it.
Solve it. Well, you're gonna have some for homework. You don't have homework. You are saved by the bell. Goodbye. Have a great day.